Handbook for the New Paradigm, a personal message for you. 8. When the conditions of deterioration surround you, how can I comment that this is a glorious day? Indeed, it is, for those conditions are drawing to a close. The ending may contain many surprises. Your Armageddon will arrive, but it shall not be in a format that you have been told to expect. The forces of light and darkness shall not parry and thrust in a format of war, but nonetheless the situation will have moments of what might be called confrontation, but it will not be in a third-dimensional battle of armaments. This should be comforting, for the power of even those third-dimensional devices can destroy the planet. If indeed the Creator is a focus of love, then methods of destruction would not be possible. These are only possible within the distorted use of negative polarity energy. Within the two foci of positive, negative energy lies the center point of harmony. This is the goal of all manifested energy, to exist within this harmonious point. However, it has one disadvantage in that the still point existence would allow for no movement at all, thus it can be maintained for only a relatively short period. As a result, there is constant movement away from and returning to this ideal. Within the totality of the galaxy, there is a balance between portions of it moving away and toward this still point. This is seen in the movement of planets and what you perceive as the Mazzaroth or zodiac as they move in cycles around the center point of the galaxy. Within these revolving movements are many smaller cycles that you cannot observe. When a distortion occurs within one of the smaller cycles, it is allowed up to a certain point. When it reaches a point at which this distortion begins to affect larger cycles, then attention is focused to correct this distortion. This attention is now on planet Earth. Destruction would indeed affect other cycles. One planet in your solar system was destroyed. Balance was maintained with great difficulty, but the loss of another planet would cause chaos that would be far-reaching indeed. For this reason, a great deal of attention is now being paid to your situation. If it were not for the limiting factor of the free will of the inhabitants, balance could have been obtained long before this point. This emphasizes the importance of obtaining consent through deception of the inhabitants for the introduction of atomic destruction devices. Plans are afoot to create the very chaos that planetary destruction would bring. The stakes are very high indeed in this game of control. The plan behind this destruction is ambitious beyond your imagination. It involves the creation of a negative polarity universe, galaxy. To the perpetrators of this situation, you are not even small fry in the game. This is confrontational at the level of the creator of this universe, galaxy. Have we made this up? Indeed, we wish we could tell you that, but it is the usurping of your ability to make free will decisions as to whether to cooperate or not that is the small key to the success of their plan. This will allow you to understand the multiple levels of control that have been used and why your complete control, which of course is impossible, has been used as the manipulation behind your deception. Indeed, there are many levels of control of the people on your planet. Those who think they are in control and planning this scenario are just as controlled as their plan for you. As this plays out, there are elements within this situation that are going to be more surprised than your general populace. However, perhaps that surprise will be at a higher level than even that plan includes. What must be remembered in the greater perception of this is that all that exists, and that does mean all, does so out of the potentiality that underlays manifested creation. In following the layers of energy that coagulate into manifested realities in reverse order, the building blocks become finer and finer in vibrational quality until it reaches beyond what the Kabbalah calls Ein Sof, or pure potentiality. In order to cause an entire galaxy to change polarities, it would be necessary to return to this point to cause such an event to happen. Needless to say, this is an extremely simplistic explanation, but should give you an understanding of the audacity of the idea and the relative chances for its success. However, the attempt to do this by working backwards through existing creation to accomplish this goal holds within it the possibility of a pattern of resulting chaos of no small proportion. Now to come upon the realization that your conscious consent had to be obtained in order to accomplish this should give you cause to take notice of your responsibility in all of this. Unless you wake up and change the path down which you are moving, there is great responsibility to be faced. Granted, you have been lulled into a zombie-like existence, but that has been your choice through lack of personal responsibility towards yourselves and your fellow man. At the end of this sojourn into life experience, you stand and recount your experience in the light of full understanding, and it is you who judge your own actions. No one judges you. You are then aware of what might have been had you lived your experience through extending the love that created you rather than in pursuit of distractions that gave you no real satisfaction. What now do you do at this pivotal point in your time? In the knowledge of this picture, which you are hardly able to acknowledge may even be a possibility, what can you do? First, you must contemplate this understanding and come to face it within your own conscious thinking process. You must consider it as possibly being true. Then you must admit to your unknowing complicity in the treatment of your fellow human beings on this planet. You must move through your regrets for having been unaware through a process of denial, for the existence of these situations was plainly presented to you by the magician. This use of your consent was by real conspirators with very large agendas to put into place. You cannot linger in the destructive guilt process. You must resolve to come into your personal responsibility to cause this situation to change from its intended path. You are expected to stop being a victim and certainly not to become a martyr, for there is no place to begin to resist this onslaught. You must vow and commit to become part of the solution. Then, despite the continued push of deceptive encroachment into your awareness, you must begin to discern what is truth. You must hold to your resolve to move through this to a new and greater understanding. When this becomes your greatest personal truth, then you will find opportunities to become part of a different movement employing methods that will not constitute physical resistance, but will use an entirely new approach. There is no other way open, for resistance on a physical level would be immediately snuffed out. Your constitution is no longer an effective shield and will be dissolved. But, that matters not. It is in assuming personal responsibility that when one accepts the challenge and does not fade in fear, others also shall come forth in like awareness and consciousness. Together this spreading group awareness shall provide the pivotal point that will bring an end to this situation. The resolve to be part of the solution from the depths of personal consciousness is the key that will open the lock, in the imprisonment of humanity, and bring true freedom to the inhabitants of this planet. Many are called, but few choose to respond. Where do you stand at this pivotal point? You must ask yourself and you must answer yourself. The question of who is the focusing energy of the messages is a difficult one to answer tactfully and yet completely. This is the focus to be sought by each individual awareness. As each expands within the process of self-identification, so does the ability to allow the flow of isness to move through their experience. Each will attract into their awareness knowledge to live into wisdom. The vibratory rate of the planetary environment and of the members of humanity on Earth is low enough that this ability is currently virtually inaccessible. To assist willing members of mankind to access the necessary information to provide a way to transcend this current aberrant state, various volunteer awareness points within higher vibrational frequencies have acted as booster stations to focus this information through those willing to participate on the Earth plane. Knowing the custom of Earth's inhabitants requiring the personified to identify mode, Names from the exotic to the ridiculous have been given as sources of this information. The information included exercises in discernment. Most participants failed the discernment tests. Much was filled with profound truth, but much of it was drained of energy by the continual parade of victims wanting their personal problems solved for them. The information became distorted as the foci were withdrawn and the volunteers winged it, faked it, on their own, for their sincerity was lost in the notoriety and greed that resulted. In view of this history, it was the mutual agreement between the parties involved in the dictation/translation/transcription process for these messages that the identities of the foci involved would remain undisclosed and there would be no monetary rewards whatsoever involved. Further, there would be no personal information disseminated for any one individual's benefit. The totality of the foci involved is for the benefit of the planet and its inhabitants. Period. The truth of the messages is to be discerned and used for the benefit of humanity first and then gleaned by the individual to apply personally as part of the wholeness to which it is focused without the necessity of personal names to identify truth. If that is not understood, then the messages need to be read again to transcend this need into commitment to the holographic intention of the information they contain. It is hoped that the succinctness of this message is accepted in the tone of importance in which it is intended. The window of opportunity to accomplish the necessary monumental consciousness transition is small compared to the obstacles within the human belief systems that must be literally dissolved so that the whole may be transformed. It is sincerely hoped that the truth contained will be a sword that cuts through the armor of deception and lays open the hearts and minds of the necessary quotient for success.